Are some rules meant to be broken? One of the cardinal rules of cinematography is to not clip your highlights. This idea has become so ingrained for most filmmakers that it's become instinctual. We usually protect the highlights as opposed to shadows, as crushed blacks aren't as distracting and even utilized for dramatic effect, like film noir. Cinematographers often clip shadows when capturing skies due to the limitation of the camera's dynamic range. This is still a common implementation of silhouetting, which can still be seen in modern films over the years. I think most viewers would generally agree it looks nice, which makes me wonder, if dark silhouettes can look cinematic, why can't the inverse be true? It all started when I forgot my SSD for the sigmafp. I was forced to shoot 8-bit, contrary to the usual 12-bit, which has noticeably lower dynamic range. I found myself in adverse lighting conditions where I had to choose between either clipping the highlights or crushing the shadows. As only the skies would be clipped, I decided this would be the less offensive choice. To my surprise, I found the outcome to be quite inspiring. To try and characterize the emotional response it had on me, the images felt dreamlike, otherworldly, isolating, or perhaps introspective. It's been utilized in Japanese anime, but has never taken off in mainstream cinema. Looking deeper into other films, I was stunned to see it even implemented as a creative choice. I was initially repulsed and shrugged it off, but the visuals somehow stayed with me like a persistent whisper. As I noticed other people voicing their appreciation for this technique, I found the motivation to further pursue this direction. So now I try to put it to the test. For this effect to be seamlessly implemented, it should look intentional. I don't like partial clipping on the face or subject of interest, but it still needs to be substantially bold. The reason I think this works is akin to shallow depth of field, providing separation with the background. It's also not simple to balance the subject while isolating the highlights, which I think look better when uniformly blown out. But if you can replicate this, I believe clipping can effectively enhance pivotal moments. Most cameras have decent color retention when overexposed anyway, so I don't think you need to be too apprehensive about skin tones. As someone that has always protected highlights, this was visually very difficult for me to digest at first. Although all my filmmaking sensibilities reject this, in an age of super competent tech, the most interesting findings will probably only be discovered through discomfort. I normally only see accidental clip highlights on film, but the high dynamic range on digital makes this unconventional enough to be noteworthy. But I don't think this requires a nostalgic element, as silhouetting doesn't necessarily have to be in the style of film noir either. There's novelty in exploration. Was this technique something to be used prominently as a visual language? Hopefully not. Just as grain, bloom, and halation shouldn't be omnipresent for every project, this approach should only be used in places where it can supplement storytelling. Dynamic range seems to be all the rage in cinematography these days. Camera manufacturers have increasingly extended highlights nearing human levels of perception to allow more artistic expression. But limitations can also bring forth ingenuity. As cameras approach 21 stops of dynamic range, clipped highlights might become an echo of the past. One begins to wonder if it's technology that is truly the limit to our creativity.